Yeah, I felt like it'd be a good idea to do my own tier list. I don't normally do content like this. I was hesitant to even talk about tiers just because, what is this button? Get out of here, YouTube. I was hesitant to talk about tiers. You know what? I'm going to turn the music off. I was hesitant to talk about tiers because I felt like it was too early. I feel at this point, scratch my mustache. Let me scratch the old Omni-Man. At this point, I feel like the game is developed and the meta is solid enough to start making kind of estimations. A lot of this tier list comes from my personal gameplay, from playing people, also from the results of my own league that I track, and of course, you know, the general opinions. You know, I've seen other tier lists and I've taken them into consideration. So I only really have 3 tiers. So let's get rid of that. Actually, I kind of like this, right? We have our main, these are characters you should probably be playing. I love them. These are characters that you love, but they can still work. And then no thanks. These are characters you should probably avoid. So let's do no thanks first. For the no thanks, we got Scrub-Zero, Scorpion, Reptile, and Shao Kahn. So these are like my bottom tier. And so the reason being, for Sub-Zero, this is obvious. He's broken. His ice clone doesn't work, and even when it did work, it was kind of bad. Everything that he has is balanced around ice clone. So when ice clone is bad, he's bad. His damage is alright. Like, he gets scaled hard on a lot of his, like, easier combos. He can get the damage. He just really needs cameos to really get anything going, because everything else he has is kind of, like, not all that great. And everything he does with cameos, everyone else does better. He doesn't really have a good mid. He doesn't really have lows, so his mix-up game's pretty weak. His neutral game is pretty weak because you can't really, like, whiff punish with his back 3. Like, he doesn't really have, like, a good whiff punish. Like, he's got, what is that, forward 2 or whatever, forward 1 or back 1, whatever his fast mid is, but it's kind of not good for that. Like, it's really good as a pressure tool, but his whiff punish game is a little so-so, and his mix-up game is just not even there. He can cover up a lot of his nonsense with cameos, but again, like, everybody can do what he does with cameos. So it's not that he's bad, it's just why pick him when he doesn't bring anything to the table everyone else doesn't already do better, and his weaknesses kind of hold back the things that he actually does do well. Because his weaknesses are very, very glaring, and they're balanced around those weaknesses, so, like, he's just kind of bad. Next one is Scorpion. I put him in low tier just because he doesn't really work without gimmicks. Like, his neutral's pretty trashy because his back 3 is unsafe as hell, so he kind of, like, has to be in standing 2 range. And yeah, at standing 2 range, he's godlike, but you take him out of that and he doesn't have a whole lot. Like, full screen, his spear teleport nonsense that Scorpion is known for is not really there. Like, he can do spear into the ground fire, but that's not nearly as rewarding as spear teleport. So, like, yeah, it's like awful. Like, his teleport for blow, like, his anti-zoning isn't really as scary as it used to be. And that was kind of Scorpion's thing, is like, if you threw a projectile, you died. And now that's not really the case. It's like, if you throw a projectile, like, maybe you'll win the trade. Maybe you'll do better than him in the trade. It's possible. He can't really punish you with teleport. So then you go into everything else he got, and it's all gimmicks. Like pressuring with that mid that launches, the second hit's a high. So, like, he can't really do much with it other than get really predictable about, like, spamming that and looking for jails. He just has to, like, really work hard to get a hit, because he doesn't have a very good whiff punish, and his rush down is a little weak. Like, he's just kind of really, really all in on the mid-range and neutral, and that's just not really that good in this game. And even then, the mid-range and neutral that he does bring to the table is outshined by other characters. Scorpion, it's not that he's bad, it's just that what he does, other characters do better, specifically the top tiers. So that's kind of why with Scorpion is just that, like, he needs a cameo to really compete, and the mid-tiers don't really do that. They don't really need a cameo. It's just with a cameo, they work better. Scorpion, and that limits it. If you have to have a cameo to function, it limits what you can choose, with one exception. There is one exception of a character that is very limited by cameos, but I'll get into that later. Next low tier character is going to be Reptile. Reptile, I think he's just not that good. He's really unsafe, and he's really honest in a game full of bullshit and gimmicks, right? He's just kind of nutty, but all of it gets him blown up, and if he plays really, really safe, he doesn't have a lot of dirt to open you up, so he kind of has to rely on honest pressure. He has good pressure, and he has really good rushdown, and he actually has solid neutral. It's just he's really honest. Like, he doesn't have any dirt in a game that's full of dirt. He's like Ryu, you know? Like, he's really like, yeah, dude, you could make him work, but, like, you have to have really, really good neutral. You have to have better fundamentals to make Reptile work, just because if you make any mistakes, you die, and he doesn't have a lot of ways to force a mistake. For Shao Kahn, this one actually breaks my heart to say that he's low tier because I've been playing him a lot. Just for an example, if you, here, look at this, okay? Let me show you. Okay, hold on, get out of here. Let me show you why this breaks my heart, okay? This breaks my heart because I have a black screen, and it's taking forever, right? It's taking forever, but if we look here, you'll see I just leveled Shao Kahn's mastery. So I've actually been playing a lot of Shao Kahn lately, just trying to see what's good about him. Like, he really lives and dies by his 2 button. His standing 2 is really, really good. His back 2 is really, really good. Outside of that, everything else is really slow and stumpy, or it's highs. So he gets like really predictable when you get up close, and then outside he gets zoned easy. He's like this crazy mid-range monster that if he keeps you like right there, you're screwed. Like, you're eating dumb stuff all day. But it's just, in a game with people like moving around as fast as they do, it's kind of hard to just keep someone there in like standing 2 range. He's really scary when he gets a corner, and he's especially like nasty when he puts his axe down. But again, you got to set all that up. He requires a lot of effort to get going and a lot of effort to do stuff that other characters do very, very simply and very easily and for free. It's not that Shao Kahn can't work, it's that he has to work, because he's only good in one range, and he's not really good at keeping you there, especially not without a cameo. But with cameos, he gets really, really good, and again, his damage and his potential is strong enough to where he can blow you up and kind of rob you of matches. But if he gets predictable, and that's oftentimes the case, he gets predictable very, very quickly. It's like when he does back 2, it's like, what the hell is he going to do? Like, if he didn't space it outright, at best he's going to get another standing 2, which is a high. You know, if he did space it outright, chances are I mashed in his face, and he didn't even get it out. But if he does do it, like, up close, then he can get, like, his sweep out, or if he's in the corner. Like, he has to have a corner to really make back 2 scary. Otherwise, like, he's advancing with back 2. But, like, if you don't have a corner, what's to stop me from just backdashing or back walking and whiff punishing? He'll do back 2 and then, like, stick out a poke, and I'll just whiff punish it. You know, especially if you have, like, a Serena team or, like, a Frost team, you know, a Cyrax team. Like those teams that can, like, you can use an assist to start a combo. So, like, when he locks you into plus frames, you just back up and blow it up. And again, I just lost to Doug Trax, who is a Shao player, and he fucked me up, and he, like, freed me up. I didn't even get a win on him. So I'm not saying that Shao can't win. I'm just saying, and Doug will probably agree with me, he has to work a lot, and he gets very predictable, and there's just a lot of holes in his gameplay. He's not airtight. If he could tighten up, like, if there was a cameo that could force you to stay in mid-range and allow him to do the shit that he needs, like Motaro, you know, he's kind of carried by Kung Lao, like a lot of characters. It's just that with Kung Lao, he doesn't do anything that other characters don't do better with Kung Lao. If he goes with Goro, he loses a lot of the shit that Kung Lao carries him for. But, like, Goro allows him to do the fun Shao Kahn stuff. It's just now you can't get in easy. and he struggles to get in, or you can't get out and get to your range. Like, at least with Kung Lao, you could like go for a string into block and then Kung Lao and then backdash into back 2 range. But if you go for Goro or Motaro or any other assist, you don't have that. And he needs that. He needs something to like set up back 2 without getting blown up by like down 4s. Because if he eats a down 4, he's just screwed. And that's the problem, is he eats pokes for days, man. That's why I kind of put Shao Kahn in the low tier. But again, I only have 3 tiers, and I think that every character is competitive. I think every character can work. Every character can fight and win. But a lot of characters really, really struggle with the top tiers, and that, or not. It's not that they struggle with the top tiers. It's just that the top tiers are so freaking good. And so rather than cover the mid tier, I'm gonna go into the top tiers. So this one is because it's a shorter list. So we got Johnny, we got Kenshi, Liu Kang, and then right after that, I'm gonna put like these characters. Okay. So right after Liu Kang, like I have a very like solid top 3, and then everybody else in the top tier is like a little bit behind that. So let's go over the top tiers. I don't want to have 4 tiers, but I like it's so close between the top 3 and the rest of the top tier. And a lot of the top 3 get counterpicked by the rest of the characters. That's kind of the thing, is that the other characters definitely can struggle with the top tiers struggle with these characters. So number 1 is Johnny Cage, and he's the best character in the game, and that's just like hands down. Kung Lao low hat just makes him stupid to where he's never not plus. He's not unbeatable. This character kind of counterpicks him, and I believe that this character, if played well, also gives him problems, and this character also gives him problems. And this character kind of goes even with him. So, and then like, yeah, but Johnny Cage, he deletes zoning. Zoning does not exist for Johnny. And once he gets in, he stays in until he gets a hit. Like, it's kind of up to him whether or not he wants to cash out for a grab or wait until he gets a hit. But once he gets in and he starts getting his frame traps going, you basically have to block until he gets his combo or he cashes out with a grab. And you kind of have to like make sure that you space him out and don't let him in to where he wants to be. But once he gets in, he's done, and he has the tools to get in. It's not that he gets in for free. It's just that if he makes the right read, he's in. So if he plays right and Johnny's good, if the Johnny player is good, he's going to get in, and there's not much you can do about it. And once he gets in, he kind of wins. All right, the second one is Kenshi. And so the reason why I put Kenshi in the top 3, and he's right under Johnny, is I believe he kind of goes even with Johnny. He's like the opposite of Johnny. Johnny doesn't stop hitting you, whereas Kenshi hardly ever hits you, but if he gets one hit, you're done. Like, that's it. Kenshi is an all or nothing. Like, he's kind of like Zangief. Like, psychologically, you play him like Zangief. You're just looking for that one big hit. If he gets a touch, and he's a character that is heavily carried by his cameo. Like, he has to have Sub-Zero or Frost, preferably Sub-Zero, because he gets zoned out. But if you're fighting Johnny, you can go Frost and like really harass Johnny with Frost's longer range stuff. But with Sub-Zero, like, Kenshi's big weakness is he gets zoned out. Sub-Zero removes his weakness of getting zoned, and the freeze allows him to get out Sento. Once he gets a touch, if he touches you and can combo into Sento in the combo, that's 45% like easy. That's just the basic Kenshi combo. There may be even more. But he gets 45% mid-screen, probably more in the corner, and that's off one touch into Sub-Zero, into Sento call. And after that, he's got the life lead, and he's one of the best turtles in the game. A lot of people say he's one of the best zoners. He's not really a zoner. He's more of a turtle. He doesn't really want to be full screen. He kind of wants to be just outside of range 3 and like play whiff punish games there. Like, he wants to like bait out buttons from range 2 and then move into range 3, and then like when you think you could hit him, he like shoulder charges you or he hits you with a whiff punish and blows you up. So he just kind of sits there, waits for you to advance, backdash, and then blow you up. And then if he does that the whole fight, he'll blow you up the whole round. Like, if he gets one touch with Sento, you're done. And that's why he can hang with Johnny. Because if he gets one touch on Johnny and he gets a life lead, Johnny has to, like, work to get in. Like, he has to use Kung Lao Hat. He has to do all kinds of stuff to get in. And if he uses Kung Lao Hat to get in, it limits his ability to use Kung Lao to stay plus and to do the frame traps. So, like, Kenshi makes Johnny Cage immortal. Not immortal, but a mortal. He makes Johnny Cage a mortal, but it's still like a fair fight. If Johnny gets started, Johnny gets started. It's just Kenshi has tools to deal with it. Number 3 in the top tier is going to be Liu Kang. Liu Kang is, and I was talking about this on Discord with a lot of people, and all of us agree. The world is kind of sleeping on Liu Kang. Liu Kang is Johnny Cage minus a few frame traps, but with zoning and the ability to combo off of his grab. Also, he has shittier mix-ups. So it's like Liu and Johnny are basically the same thing, but they've traded a tool with each other. So Johnny has better frame traps, Liu has better zoning. Johnny has better mix-ups, but Liu can combo off of grabs. You see what I'm saying? Like, they're two sides of the mirror thing. The only difference is that zoning in this game is kind of weak. It's not very strong, so the fact that Liu can zone and Johnny can't is a moot point. And when they get inside, Johnny's just better up close. Liu can do everything that Johnny does, he just doesn't do it as well. And so Johnny kind of like wins the close range battle. However, again, Liu can hang with Johnny because he has the tools to kind of fight it. He has the, especially with the zoning and all that, and the longer range, and just better space control in general. So if he plays very, very turtly and knows how to like turn on the juice and pressure Johnny Cage and go for a quick, pressure into grab into combo and really maintain his defense when he has a life lead, Liu can hang with Johnny and he just like wrecks most of the cast because he can do what Johnny can do plus zone. Next one is going to be Ashrah. Hold on. Oh, hold on. I had a little blip on the stream. I want to make sure. Okay. Next one is Ashrah. Ashrah I have as like the top 4. She's like if there was a 4th tier, she would be the top of upper mid tier. But I feel like these 2 tiers are close enough. And the reason being is that Ashrah kind of can handle Johnny. Yeah, she's not as cheap as the other 2 characters, but she's still cheap and she can hang with Johnny because she can space him out pretty well. Her 4-2 and just her longer range game is way better. She can zone. Her space control, she's really good at controlling a range that Johnny Cage struggles at. The only problem is that Kenshi's kind of good at that range too, and so is Liu Kang. But they kind of go even with Ashrah. Ashrah gets bigger payouts in that range than Liu Kang, but Liu Kang's better up close. Ashrah gets about a little bit lesser a payout on a touch from the same range as Kenshi, but she can also hit you more often because she's not really like stuck having to get Cameo out and Sento and all of that. She could just do whatever she wants. If she's got orbs, okay, then she gets more damage. If she doesn't, it's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. Like, she could just touch you and like delete 30% of your health meterless with a Cameo from a range you have no buttons to contest. And if she gets in close, she has one of the best mids in the game, then she can lock you down with a frame trap mix-up with her projectile to keep you guessing, on top of the fact that she's got a good grab game, on top of the fact that her flash parry makes her, you can't do anything to her on wake up. Her flash parry is like super safe, and it's not as cheap post-patch, but it's still good. You know what I mean? And so like, Ashrah still has tools. She still has everything to lock down a lot of other characters in a very uncomfortable range, and she can compete with the top tiers. So if she wasn't a top tier, she'd be the top of mid tier or upper mid. Next one is Raiden. Raiden got hit with the nerf hammer, but the thing is, Raiden really didn't get nerfed so much as the Cameo that carried him. Cyrax got nerfed. The thing is, most Raidens have figured out they can kind of do the same shit with Kung Lao as they did with Cyrax. So, like, they just switched over to Kung Lao and they went right back to doing basically the same thing. It's not an ambush assist, so it's not exactly the same thing, but Kung Lao assist has its own separate advantages that Raiden takes advantage of. The thing is, I can't see a point in this game where Raiden isn't at least competitive. As long as forward 4-3 is a safe hit confirmable combo starter. That's one of the best combo starting strings in the game. A low is rare. A hit confirmable low is rare. A fucking range 2 advancing hit confirmable low that's relatively safe is just like, that's just going to be good for the whole rest of the game. I can't even, like, unless they come up with something really busted with DLC, that string alone is always going to be good. And if you're neutral and your fundamentals are strong, you could just play around that thing all day, every day, and there's not much, like, you just got to hold it. And if he touches you, even without Cyrax, like if he goes with Jax assist, his damage is still respectable. It's not as dumb as it used to be, but he's still kind of a two-touch character. Granted, everybody's a two-touch character, but he's a two-touch character with one of the best hit confirmable low combo starters in the game. So, yeah, he kind of gets mopped by Johnny when Johnny gets started, and he does struggle with getting in on Kenshi. But he has the tool to, like, deal with everybody below him, and it's not like he's helpless against everybody in the top tier. I think he does have problems with Ashrah, but I think it's only because, like, he kind of has to get into forward. Like, if he can get into forward 4 range, he shuts down a lot of her shit. But he has to get into that range, and it's not easy. You know, like, he doesn't have a whole lot to establish the range where he wants to play around forward 4 without the threat of forward 2 stopping him from getting in. And then if he gets whiff punished, like, Ashrah has a really good whiff punish game. Forward 4-3 will whiff right in front of her face, and she'll hit, like, the back 3 low poke and blow him up. So it's not like, it's not face roll like he does with other characters, but he's still stupid. And with the right cameo, he gets even dumber. Next one was probably I don't know if I would say this is a hot take. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are settling into this. This is post-patch, right? Omni-Man just came out. But, yeah, I think everybody's kind of figured out what he's all about. Here's the deal with Omni-Man. He's very simple. He's very basic. And his game plan has been designed. So, in fighting games, these guest characters aren't designed for me. They're not designed for, like, the Mortal Kombat nerd that knows the frame data. They're designed for people that watch Invincible to play with Mortal Kombat. You know, this character was designed so that if you watch Invincible, you'll want to buy Mortal Kombat to play as Omni-Man in the game. So he's supposed to be super easy. And his game plan is very, very simple and very, very easy. And it's good and it works. And his game plan does heavily revolve around Kung Lao. He is one of the characters that is carried by Kung Lao. But the thing is, he synergizes so well with it. Other characters like Johnny Cage is good without Kung Lao. It's just Kung Lao allows him to be super Johnny Cage. Whereas Omni-Man just really synergizes with him by using the low hat with the long range. Like, Omni-Man is weird. He's a close range, long range character. He has some of the best close range shit, but he doesn't have a way to get there. But he has really good long range stuff that do get him there. It's just all that long range stuff is unsafe. However, with Kung Lao low hat, you delete the safety issue. So now from long range, he's really, really good. And now he's safe and can get in for free to the close range where he's actually really, really good. He can be as predictable as he wants because he's basically 3 strings. Standing 1-2, back 1-1, and forward 4-1. Those 3 strings, standing 1-2 is a high that goes into a +3 on block, which guarantees a back 1-1, or you can go for a forward 4 on a whiff punish. Like, you could do 1-2 into back 1, and that's guaranteed to come out. If they press, they get launched. Or you can do 1-2 into backdash forward 4-1, and if they press, they get launched. If they try to backdash forward 4 advances. So, like, his close range game is really, really good, and he gets into that close range game for free. And so, like, the only problem is, like, Omni-Man, his defense is a little whack, and, like, he kind of does what Johnny does, but he doesn't have the utility. So with low hat, Johnny can kind of use low hat for free, and Johnny has the tools to get in safely and patiently. Like, so Johnny's want you to zone them. They'll do like splits and build up their hype. They'll let you try to zone them. They don't care, because they'll build up hype, dash in, do a parry, and now they're in. So they're not worried about getting zoned, whereas Omni-Man, it's like if he uses Kung Lao to get in for free, it limits his ability to really, really pressure and abuse how Kung Lao synergizes with a lot of his strings. So yeah, he struggles in that respect. He's basically Johnny Cage, but Johnny Cage with worse neutral is Omni-Man. So he can get the job done because he does what Johnny does, like exactly. It's just he doesn't have the neutral that Johnny does, so Johnny clearly a step above. But Omni-Man, for being a DLC character, I have to first of all tip my hat to NetherRealm, because, dude, like usually DLC that is this good is usually broken. I have to give some respect and a shout out to NetherRealm for releasing a DLC character that is good. He's clearly top tier and can hang with the best characters in the game. If you're watching this and you're wondering, you love Invincible and you're just like, man, I just want to know if Omni-Man can hang. He can hang. He's not the best character in the game. But if you fought a Johnny Cage, you're not helpless. You can fight him, and he can absolutely hang with the rest of the cast. It's just, when you fight a Johnny, you're going to have to be better than him, because Johnny can do what you do, only better. He's like Peacemaker. But NetherRealm, man, they usually don't do this. Usually a DLC comes out and they are like either godlike, destructive, invincible, unvincible power, or they're useless and they're just not good. Omni-Man is good. He has a place in the roster. He can kind of deal with Kenshi and Liu Kang. He's not really a counter pick for them, but he does deal with what they do best. So if you want to play Johnny and you're kind of having a hard time dealing with their zoning, you could switch over to Omni-Man, do exactly the same thing, and now zoning's not a problem. But if you're Johnny and you're having a problem with zoning, you're just not a good Johnny. But if if you're picking Omni-Man, that's why I kind of want to put him in the mid tier. But he's way better than these characters. And so like that's the thing is like if you want to buy this game to play Omni-Man and you want to compete, you're good. Next one is going to be Geras. He's a character I think a lot of people are really sleeping on, mostly because he actually plays at the range she does. He plays her range, and that's a very uncomfortable range for like everybody. He plays where she does and can kind of do the same stuff, but he's more unique. Like he's got his grabs, he's got his time freeze, he's got like the sand clone stuff. Like he's got a lot of gimmicks, but his gimmicks aren't really BS. Some of his gimmicks aren't fake. His gimmicks are real, especially like his counter zoning and his counter spacing, because he can play like he can actually play outside of Ashrah's like safe zone and blow her up. And that's the thing is Geras plays at an uncomfortable range for a lot of characters, but he's no slouch at the ranges he's not bad at. And so there's no reason to pick Geras. He's not the best character in the game. There's no reason where it's like, oh, you gotta pick Geras. But it's like, if you want to pick Geras, you could absolutely win fucking every tournament with Geras. Especially because a lot of his setups with Kung Lao Low Hat just naturally combo into nice stuff. He's one of those characters that doesn't have to, like, he's not limited in what he can do with Low Hat. He can let Low Hat rock and then just combo if it hits, and it's not that hard off of most things Geras does. So that's the thing, is he plays a range that's uncomfortable for a lot of people, and he gets a lot of mileage out of Low Hat. And that's not even the only assist he can work with. It's just he gets a lot of mileage out of Low Hat, and he also has a lot of the shenanigans with the teleport and the Sandman. That stuff's really nasty. He's got a lot of gimmicks, but they're not really bad gimmicks. They're good gimmicks. They're solid gimmicks. He'll keep you guessing and afraid to press anywhere on the screen, and that's worth something. Only problem is his defense is a little weak. Like his armored move, the up 3, is really, really good in MK11. It is not that good in this game. It does have the same kind of properties it did in MK11, where it stops jump-ins and cross-ups, and it just blows up a lot of stuff. The problem is it has the same weakness it did in MK11, where it's easy to blow up on a whiff punish. And this game, like, whiff punishing is kind of deadly. Whiff punishing is scarier than jump-ins. Buttons and moves have long recoveries, so if he throws that out and you're making a read and you bait it and you get it to whiff, he's taking a lot of damage, and that makes his defense very, very predictable and very dangerous and risky, and that's what keeps him away from, like, the characters above him, is that his weaknesses will cost him, and the risks that he has to take are risks that he has to take when he's in a weak position. Next one is going to be Shang Tsung. Shang Tsung, I believe, is the best actual zoner in the game. Kenshi and Ashrah, I really don't consider zoners. They're more space control characters. A zoner is trying to win on timeout, and Shang Tsung is the best at it. Like, he'll time you out. His combos are very, very long, and a lot of people complain. They're like, oh, his combos are a minute long. And I'm like, yeah, that's the idea. He's supposed to do that. His combos are supposed to take forever, because he's not dealing damage to your health bar. He's dealing damage to the clock. So the longer his combos are, it doesn't matter that they don't. He does these long combos that do no damage, and then you lose by a timeout, and you wonder what the hell happened. Because once he does this long combo that takes a minute off of the clock, and now you're full screen, you have to spend another minute to get in. And if you get touched, it's another minute off the clock. All the while, you're getting frustrated and you're getting mad because you're just watching him play his game, which is really cool because that's how Shang is in his personality. That's how the character is. So I think that's really dope how they made him play. Like, he's kind of the one to stand back and pick his spots and frustrate you until you make a mistake in the mental chess game of Mortal Kombat. So he plays very good to his canon, but his game plan is solid. If he can zone you, he can win on a timeout, lickety-split. Before you know it, you've already lost on a timeout, and you're like, what the hell? How did I get timed out? The only problem is, like, he's a zoner, and Johnny Cage just deletes that. Kenshi can get zoned. That's why Shang, I think, is really, really good. He kind of deals with Kenshi very well, but Kenshi equips Sub-Zero and also kind of negates that. And Kenshi has better buttons than Shang. Same thing with Liu Kang. Liu Kang, he'll just counter zone. You know, he's about as good at zoning as Shang, but he's got decent close range. These two are, like, kind of similar. They got good mids that can hit confirm into combos that are safe. But Liu Kang, he just, like, Shang's combos, he's working towards a timeout. Liu Kang deletes health bars. So it's like if Liu Kang gets a touch, Shang Tsung is on his back foot. And now Shang Tsung has to open up Liu Kang, who's a decent zoner. And zoners are not good at opening up zoners. Shang Tsung I think he kind of goes even with Ashrah. It's just if she gets a life lead, he's going to struggle to get in. So he kind of has to get that early life lead. But he's got the tools to stop her low ground fire and all that. Shuts down a lot of her forward 2 shenanigans. And he can shoot her from range that she can't shoot him. Raiden, he's like 4-4-3. It's just, like, it just stops a lot of dumb stuff. And his teleport blows up zoning. Shang Tsung's projectiles are pretty slow. Like, they have long animations, especially if he does the triple shot. If he does the triple shot, Raiden can react to that on sight, teleport, and blow it up for a full combo. Omni-Man does not actually... Omni-Man doesn't believe that zoning exists in this game. He's never seen it, and he's heard rumors. But as far as he's concerned, from the last time I talked to Omni-Man, he wasn't aware of what zoning is. And Geras has traditionally, since MK11, always been a strong counter zoner. So you see, all the characters above Shang Tsung can deal with zoning very, very effectively, and once they get in, or they get to the range that they want to work at, they kind of shut down Shang Tsung a lot. They just wreck him. Alright, so that's the top tier. These are the characters that I think if you buy Mortal Kombat today, you go to the store and you bought Mortal Kombat and you're like, I need to pick a character that I can win with. I can go on Combat League and maybe there might be characters better than me, but I can fight them and I can win. I can get good enough if I practice, maybe even go into tournaments, maybe enter my beef set league. These characters are characters that can work. They can make it happen. And you won't have to try too hard. They're very simple, very easy, and very basic with what they want to do. And so because of their simplicity, I put them in the top tier. And also Omni-Man, just if you buy in the game because you want to play Omni-Man, this is your go-ahead. He's good, dude. He's really good. You'll have a lot of fun, and he can hang. I'm waiting for someone to win a tournament with him because I think it's only a matter of time. Let's go to the mid-tier, and let me talk about the mid-tier and the why I could... Oh! This is the other character on the top tier, is this one. So while I was talking about all of these, I wanted to move her into the top tier. When I thought about it further, I was like, yeah, I kind of want to put her in the top tier. Only because she struggles against a lot of this shit. She got problems with this. But when paired with Scorpion and a lot of patience, she has a 6-frame punish for 50% of your health. So as long as you don't eat too much chip and you don't get hit, if you wait for one opening, and she has a 6-frame punisher, which allows her as a reversal, so you don't even have to worry about the timing. If one of these guys, if Liu Kang does a down poke, you delete 50% of his health on the read of a down one, and you just took 50% of his health. So that's very, very strong. The only reason why I don't want to put her with the other characters, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to put her at the top of mid-tier. The only reason why I don't want to put her over here is because her offense is really, really weak and predictable, and so you kind of have to turtle it up. But the problem is, if you're turtling up, you're leaving the ball in their court. Like, the last thing you want to do against Johnny Cage is fucking block. And since he's plus on anything, when are you going to get a 6-frame punish out anyways? Like, what are you going to punish? Yeah, that's really, really good, and if he fucks up, you can delete his health and go back to turtling. But that's leaving a lot of risk out there, because turtling up on Johnny Cage is just, you're basically asking when he's going to hit you. You don't want to turtle up. Her zoning isn't strong enough to keep him out. Her neutral and her buttons are, but they're not that safe either. And her damage output and keeping Johnny out of like point blank, she's a little unsafe. So yeah, she's got problems, but you can't deny the fact that if any one of these characters slips up and does anything that's -6, she deletes 50% of their health, and now she goes back to turtling. And the thing is, once she deletes 50%, it doesn't matter where your health bar is, man. If I do 50% of your health, you're in trouble. And she can mount comebacks because she only has to do that twice, and it's a win. You basically have to be perfect and 100% safe every time against a character that actually doesn't mind blocking the whole match. She really doesn't have a problem playing safe and just being patient and waiting for you to make a mistake, and she can blow it up. She's actually pretty good at that. If she were a Guilty Gear character, she'd be biking. That would be Li Mei. Li Mei is the biking of MK. Next character. This is like the next character. Okay, so this one is the controversial pick. So Sindel, if the reset is allowed to rock and they don't patch it, is like up here. That reset is fucking nasty. Like, that reset's a game changer. A lot of events have banned it. I have not, because I've yet to see someone really take advantage of it, and this is a theoretical tier list. I haven't seen anybody take advantage of it. So theoretically, if she does the reset, you're dead. There's nothing you can do. If the reset gets patched or banned, if she does not have access to that reset in any way, I kind of don't even put her, like, she's like in the bottom of mid-tier. Almost bottom tier, but not quite. She would be like over, you know, she would be at the end of mid-tier. With the reset, she's fucking stupid. Like, that reset is an 80% reset, and she can do that, like, immediately. Like, if she gets a down 4 touch, if you do anything but, like, block and backdash at round 1 start, she gets a down 4, and then now she has 2 bars, and if she touches you, then your 80% of your health is gone, and then she's already a lame character. Like, that's the thing that makes her so nasty, is if she deletes 80% of your health with this reset, then she lames you out. And what are you going to do? Because as soon as you get in, that's 2 grabs and you're dead. 2 grabs and you're dead on a character that can lame you out. And this is the start of the round. The round has just started. You are at 80% health. She grabs you with 2 grabs in the next 90 seconds, and you lose. And you have 90 seconds to get through her bullshit. Her hair, her projectiles, her mix, just all her bullshit that she has on defense. So yeah, that reset. But we take away the reset, and honestly, her damage output isn't that scary. Her damage output's good. It's not any scarier than anybody else's. She can get big damage, but this is a big damage game. Her mix-up game is good, but it's not as scary as everybody else's. Her pressure game is okay. She doesn't have good mids, and like she has a lot of gaps and a lot of unsafe shit. And like her rushdown is predictable. And if you're really patient, like she's not. Like, you can kind of blow up her rushdown and find her gaps. Her rushdown isn't as good as Johnny's. Her defense is better than Johnny's, but, like, her defense isn't as good as Lee May. There's nothing, without the reset, there's nothing that Sindel does that other characters don't do better. And the things that she actually does aren't that great. They're just mediocre. That's why I put her at the bottom of mid-tier or the top of bottom tier. The real next character is actually this one, Kung Lao. Kung Lao is almost top tier. I would actually, like, if Kung Lao had a good mid, he's, like, better than Liu Kang. Kung Lao without a good mid, which is the world we live in, he doesn't have a good mid. He's right there. Here's the thing with Kung Lao. You can't deny the power of Armored Launcher. Kung Lao with Goro at any point from range 3 to point blank. So from grab range to like range 3, if you do anything, that's 30% of your health. That's if he has 1 bar and Goro and you press, your health is gone. Now, that is a limiting factor. That is very powerful, but he does need a bar to get it, and it's not really easy for him to get bar. It makes him a very expensive character. He kind of has to be in aggro mode, constantly in your face, and then getting right back into the freaking armor and right back in. Like, he cannot stop. From full screen, his zoning can get pretty predictable, but most Kung Laos are playing Kung Lao with Kung Lao. So his zoning is actually pretty good. It's not bad. Unfortunately, the characters above him delete zoning, so it's not like it's a tool that he can throw out there. And in the case of Shang Tsung, like Shang Tsung's just a better zoner. Kung Lao's counter zoning isn't as good as it has been traditionally, but dive kick shenanigans are actually safer than they used to be. So like he can kind of do the shit that he's done traditionally that you used to blow him up for, but like you can't blow him up now. It's weird. Kung Lao is the same Kung Lao that he's always been, but the things that were unsafe are now safe, and the things that used to be really, really safe are now really unsafe. Like, Kung Lao opens himself up to whiff punishings a lot because of his 3-hit string that doesn't advance very far, especially with his 1-2-1 string. He relies heavily on highs for his rushdown. Otherwise, he gets mashed on. So yeah, he's got mix-ups, but his low mix-up requires an assist, so if he doesn't have an assist, he's not getting nothing off of it. His overhead mix-up is unsafe unless he uses an assist. Then you can do overhead into armored launch, but now you're spending a bar and an assist just to combo off of an overhead that they can mash on anyways. So, like, not having a good mid really hurts Kung Lao in a game where the characters that kind of play his game, they play at his range, but they have mids. So Kung Lao ends up getting opened up with a lot of jabs. Like, he gets jabbed out a lot. Thankfully, he has a good whiff punish, so if Kung Lao is smart, his back 3-3 Goro can blow up whatever buttons that they're trying. Like, once they start trying to blow up the fact that he relies on highs so much, he has a tool to stop that. That's why he's not low tier. It's just that, yeah, that tool is limited by the fact that he needs armor or cameo. He doesn't have any on-demand cheapness. But the thing about Kung Lao is that he's like an avalanche. Once he gets a bar of meter going, he's in. And once he's in, his pressure is so good that he'll get that bar back. So spending the bar to get in is not really a big deal. And once he gets in, he gets that bar back. And if he gets a touch, he can get a life lead, and once he gets a life lead, his defense isn't bad. He's got enough armor. He's got the spin. He can do dive kick shenanigans to get away. Like he can do stuff like string into up kick to be plus, and then dive kick, and now he's out of the corner. Like his mobility is really good, and he's hard to chase down. It's just he gets kind of fucked up with low pokes. He gets fucked up with low pokes, and he really has problems with characters like Ashrah and Raiden and Geras and Shang Tsung that play at ranges he struggles at. Any character that can space him outside of range, outside of like range 2 and 3, like Ashrah really gives him problems if he doesn't have meter. If he doesn't have meter, like he has to do some unga bunga shit to get inside, and all of that's risky. The only time he doesn't have to be risky is if he has a bar, but it's like, how do you get that bar if you can't get in and pressure? So that's the deal with Kung Lao. If he had a good mid, he'd be easily top tier. Easily. He has everything that they have. It's just that without a good mid, he needs low hat, and that removes his ability to do a lot of the stuff that he needs Goro for. If he has low hat, it's really hard for him to combo off of his launcher. Like, it's just not happening. He kind of needs Goro to do that. It's very situational combo off of that launcher into low hat and, you low hat extending. So he loses a lot getting low hat, and not having low hat really makes him rely on meter. And so he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He can compete with the top tiers, and he shuts down a lot of stuff, but that's about it. Next top tier character I'm going to put at Tanya. And the reason for that is Tanya plays the game at a range that's uncomfortable for everybody. Her best range is range 3, and her spin kick, her low spin, is actually kind of hard to react to at that range. It's not that she has overheads, it's that moving in, she kind of zones you. Her standing 3 spaces you out like really far, and if she gets a full charge, which is not hard to do at all, if she gets a touch with standing 3, she's in, and her rush down game is good. So she's like a zoner with good rush down, and in order to get down around her zoning, you have to neutral duck to like get around the standing 3. But if you neutral duck, then she can hit the low, and it's like hard to react to that off of a neutral duck because your eyes are looking at a different spot. You're looking up high for the standing 3, and then all of a sudden she hits you with that low, and you weren't really looking at the low, and like now you're kind of screwed. And if she does that at the right range, if she does that too far away, it's easy to react to. But if she does it at the right range, standing 3 will like clip crouch blockers. So you want to like neutral duck to avoid getting clipped by standing 3. Because if she makes contact, she's in. If standing 3 is blocked and she has charge, which again, charge isn't that hard. She gets that charge, she hits standing 3, hit or block, she teleports and she's in, and she has one of the best mids in the game. And she can just pressure you. And her pressure is very predictable and brain dead. But the thing is, if she wants, she could safely just run away and go back to like fishing for the standing 3 again. She could go for standing 3 on block. She's in. She goes for safe mid pressure. Doesn't get anything, but in the course of that in the course of that pressure, she gets 2 charges. So fuck it, just backdash and go back to spacing them out with standing 3. And that's it. She's got really good anti-airs and a really good anti-jump technology, decent zoning, decent counter zoning, and like her tools are very, very simple, but she fights from an uncomfortable range, and a lot of characters just kind of struggle with that standing 3. They just have problems with it. Kung Lao is one of them. He needs meter to like deal with it. It's just that if he gets in, he gets in for free with 1 bar, and then he can kind of raffle stomp her. Next one is going to be this character, Baraka. Baraka lived and died by Cyrax. I think that he still kind of needs Cyrax. Cyrax gives him a lot of things that he needs. Cyrax allows him to combo off of both grabs. Cyrax allows him to combo off of a lot of other stuff. It gives him big damage. Cyrax is still good. It's just that now that he can't use horizontal helicopter more than once per round almost, like it limits it. Like he has to play safer and smarter And unfortunately, when I say safer, I really like underline that, because he gets blown up for mix-ups. Now, he does have a pretty good Oki game and a really good set play game, and his wake-up reversal is one of the better ones for turning the tide of battle. Like, if he gets knocked down and he's getting jacked up, if he hits his wake-up, especially the armored version, he has so much frame advantage that basically he's back on set play. And if you guess wrong, he puts you right back in there. So his wake-up attack is a really, really good tool for changing momentum. The only problem is it's unsafe. So, like, yeah, he gets blown up, and that's kind of the thing, is, like, he's unsafe on a lot of stuff. He needed Cyrax to do that, to keep things safe. Without Cyrax, he loses a lot of his damage. And other cameos just don't synergize that well. Like, yeah, he could kind of do the same shit with Kano or Goro, but then he loses his ability to combo off of grabs. So, both grabs. And that's one of the things, is that Baraka, his pressure is really, really strong. So you want to be able to combo off of both grabs. If they're sitting there eating, like, you know, fucking jab strings and pressure strings, you're going to want to cash out at grabs. And having the ability to make your grab hit for 30% is a big freaking deal. Not having that, by getting rid of Cyrax, really gimps his rush down. But unfortunately, he doesn't get as much that he out of Cyrax. Cyrax's nerf hurt Baraka a lot. He can still work, and if you're a fan of Baraka, you could beat any of these characters with Baraka. It's just not as face roll as it used to be. Next character I'm going to put over here is going to be Smoke. Smoke, he's like this here. Like, he maybe even up here if we're online. Good luck blocking that stuff. He's stupid online. He's like one of the stupidest characters to fight online. And that's why I put him at a higher tier. I actually would put him at a lower tier. I actually almost put him at lower tier, but he's at the low of mid tier. Online, he's stupid. With the right assists, though, he can kind of cover his gaps and his problems. He's like the other characters, like, around him in the tier list, in that he kind of needs assists to cover gaps and problems. But with the right assist, he's at least better than these characters and all the characters that are basically kind of follow him. With the right assist, especially like Serena assist, just really synergizes well with him. Serena covers his weakest range, and he gets so many conversions off of her. Like, he just works so well with Serena, and she complements his neutral so well that, like, you can go and avoid his mix-up game and not try to play like an online Smoke and just play neutral. Using Serena to cover his weaknesses in the neutral, he's, like, still good. And if you team him up with, like, Low Hat or something, like, he's solid. He's solid with everything. It's just he becomes obnoxious online. With the mix-ups, he's obnoxious. You take those away, and he's still a good character. Next one is going to be this one. Again, her mix-ups are bootleg. They're not real. They're kind of reactable, but it's just hard to deal with it online. The thing is, she does big-ass damage, and I would put her up higher. The problem is she's, like, way, way, way unsafe. Like, way unsafe. So any mistake she makes, she kind of has to be on her best behavior. If she plays safe, and she can overwhelm you really, really quickly, but if she makes one mistake, her defense is kind of weak. Her zoning is really weak. So, like, if you get a life lead on her, she has to play really, really risky to get started, and then, like, that's the downward cycle, right? You get a life lead on her, now she has to play risky to open you back up. And if she guesses wrong and you block her dumb shit, now you get to combo her again, further spiraling her life lead ever further downward. So she's like one of those, she's like a very momentum-based character in that if she gets started, she'll overwhelm you. But if you get started, you can put her in a desperate situation where you can easily bait out unsafe stuff with her. And her mix-ups and her rushdown aren't that good. Her rushdown is a little one-dimensional, even though she has a good mid. She's got a good mid, but she's limited, and it's unsafe. Like, you kind of gotta, like, YOLO that off option select into special move. You know, her mid's good, but you can't cash it out for a whole lot without being unsafe. That's the theme with Mileena. Everything she does is unsafe. You can use cameos to make her safe, and that, yeah, but that's the thing, is, like, everything she does, these characters do safely. In fact, everything she does, Johnny Cage does with plus frames. You know? Like, Why pick Mileena over Johnny Cage unless you like Mileena? That's the I love them tier. That's the I love them tier. Next up is going to be the Frog Father, Rain. Rain's problem is that his damage is kind of weak without the proper assists. But if he has the assists that help his damage, he gets zoned out. So he has to grab Sub-Zero to deal with the zoning, but now his damage is weak, and he's a zoner-ish character. So, like, having low damage, if you get a life lead on him, he, like, struggles to open you up with Sub-Zero. He just does. At least with, like, Scorpion or other high-damaging assists, like, if you get a life lead, at least if he opens you up, he can cash out for big damage. That's sort of supposed to be Rain's, like, thing, is that he's the zoner with mix-ups and damage. Like, the zoner that can fight melee. But the weakness is that he's the zoner that gets zoned by zoners. Zoning isn't really that much of an issue in this game, but the things that Rain has to do to deal with zoning, because his long-range game is so slow and that's his best game, he just has to give up his damage, and his damage is his biggest strength. If you're a really, really good, patient Rain who's willing to sacrifice Sub-Zero and you can open people up or get around zoning without Sub-Zero, then I would actually put him, like, over here. Like, with Scorpion, if you're really good and patient with Scorpion, you can make it count. But you're still fighting an uphill battle. You know, it's still rough for Rain. He still gets zoned out. He's another, like, momentum. That's why I kind of have him with Mileena, in that he's a momentum-based character. If Rain gets started, you're fucked, dude. His Oki game is so good. His zoning and mix-ups are so good. His close-range portal gimmick is so good. Like, if he gets a life lead on you, he can fuck with you, and you're just, like, guessing. You know, there's nothing you can do to deal with it. You're in his, like, realm. But if you get a life lead on him, he collapses. He collapses hard. Next one is going to be actually my main, Nitara. I put her in the upper mid. I play her because I love her. I think she's fun. She's actually one of the most fun characters to play. She is not as good as these characters. She can hang with these characters. She has problems with these characters. Here's the deal. Nitara lives and dies by Serena. You kind of have to have Serena to get her. Neutral is really bad, and she's a jump character. Tweety said it best. She's a jump character in a game where jumping is bad. So if you're not going to jump, you have to bypass or deal with her. Neutral is bad. Her, like, mid-range neutral, is bad. Her up-close neutral is godlike. She's like one of the best close-range characters in the game. There's a reason why her health is so low. There's a reason why her buff does damage to herself. There's a reason why she's really unsafe. She's, like, really, really nasty. And if she didn't have Serena, she becomes stupid. Like, her with, like, Kung Lao, her with Goro, her with any ambush assist is, like, overwhelming. Her with Striker becomes stupid. Because her main strength is that she's up close and she can get a hit. Yeah, if you don't think she can get a hit, just watch any of my videos that I post of me playing Nitara. Like, her close range game, her whip punish game is so godlike. And she doesn't need an assist to get damage. If she gets a touch, she can take, like, almost 40%, like, without an assist. So you can use your assist for gimmicks. And, like, her low health isn't a problem, because if you're playing her right and utilizing her buff properly, if you think about her buff less as a heal and more as a shield, right? When you get the buff applied, what it does is it negates damage that they do to you. It's not to heal, it's to negate damage and do chip. So when she gets in close, it's hard to get her off of you. Her back four is special cancelable. Her forward 1-2, like, gets her in really close. From close range for free. If any part of that hits, she gets a hard knockdown. If she gets a hard knockdown at any point, buff is free. If she gets a touch, buff is free. If I have a bar, buff is now amplified and it's doing chip. And if I get the buff out and I get a touch, I heal back all that health. So, like, her weaknesses don't hold her back that much. It's just she can't really get as nasty as you want her to be, because she's kind of shackled to Serena. She doesn't have the neutral to get into her scary range without Serena. You could use Low Hat But if you use low hat, like her combo routes don't really synergize well with Kung Lao. It's just, yeah, it's not as good, as Serena, because Serena has the high knife. It's not so much the double knife that this makes this work. It's the high knife. Like, Nitara specializes in making you scared to move because she can fly around and her grab game is so solid and her mids are so good and she's got, overheads. She's got, like, a really good game to get you, to force you to, like, block when she gets in, but she doesn't have a whole lot to stop you from moving and running from her. Like, if you're running from her, she has to chase you, and if she's chasing you, like, all that shit's unsafe. Like air dashing and all of that, like if you can blow a lot of that up if she's really predictable. Otherwise, she has to like walk in, and her walk speed's kind of ass. So like Serena allows her to kind of bypass that. You can throw a high knife, and it gives you frame damage or frame advantage enough to like triangle jump in and get all the way in. And now I can like play my close range game. And of course, the double Serena hit. Just, like that hits confirms into a combo. Also, like, if you do, I option select into the Serena a lot with her. And it's safe. At best, you're going to get like a down poke because Serena's knives hit on the way back. So, and if they're stupid enough to, like, attack after you, like, do that, if they do anything other than a down poke, like trying to punish and the knives, like, hit you on the way back, she gets, like, big-ass damage. Like, Nitara delete 40% of your health bar if the knives hit you on the way back. A lot of people say that that's cheap and that should get nerfed, but honestly, the knives hitting on the way back doesn't help these characters as much as low hat does. So it's like, yeah, it's cheap, but it's not as cheap as low hat, and it really only helps Nitara as much as like anybody else. Like, she kind of lives and dies with Serena. If you have Serena, she's very scary. She can compete. With Serena, she competes with the rest of the cast. But again, if you know how to play against Serena, she's got problems. Because Serena's not a character that's, she's not a cameo that's impossible to counterplay. She's a cameo that's actually pretty easy to counterplay. So, like, yeah, she lives and dies by Serena, and that's a problem. Next one is going to be Reiko. Reiko is he's just one-dimensional. Like, he zones, but the characters that delete zoning aren't a problem. Or, like, they give him problems. He's good up close. The real big problem with Darius is in order to make his grab, which is, like, what makes him scary. So what makes Reiko really scary is that he is a zoner with a grab. So if you get in on him, you're not safe. He can mix you up. The problem is his grab isn't worth the shit without spending 2 bars. Not a problem if you're a zoner. If you're throwing projectiles and they're eating chip, you'll have the 2 bars when they get in. The problem is that the damage on the grab for 2 bars isn't that great without Darius. With Darius, he's scary. And for characters that he can get the shuriken game going on, so like Raiden's really hate fighting him, Shang Tsung's hate fighting him, I know Raiden's kind of tend to struggle a little bit with him. I think he does well against Ashrah, and I think he actually does well against Liu Kang. So that's what I'm saying, is he's competitive. But the problem is, like, the characters that delete zoning, like Johnny Cage isn't scared of shuriken, and Johnny Cage is way better up close. And yeah, Reiko has a grab, but he's only going to hit that like once around because it needs 2 bars. It actually is a 4-bar combo if you're using Darius because it uses both of your cameo too. So it's an expensive combo, but it does give you 50% health on a zoner. A zoner with a 50% health grab. I'm not saying it's not cheap. I'm just saying that zoning isn't that good, and his zoning isn't as good as Shang's. His zoning isn't as good as Raiden's. It's just that he can counter zone them. So people think that Rico's like the best zoner in the game, and it's like, because he beats the best zoners, and it's like, nah, Reiko beats these 2 characters with zoning, but like he doesn't zone these characters, and that's who these 2 can zone. You know what I mean? Like, Reiko has to go in. Reiko can rush these characters down. Up close, he's really, really good. But then he doesn't really have, like, he's not as good up close as these characters. And in order for him to really be scary rushing down, he kind of needs low hat. Him with Lao, he's just as good as these guys. Like, him with Lao, he's like, I'm here. He's really fucking good. But now he doesn't combo off of grab. You know what I mean? It's like... Yeah, like, if grab was like 1 bar, he'd be top tier, but it's not. Next one in the upper, like, second mid tier is going to be Havik. The problem with Havik is that if you know how to fight Havik, he's not that bad. If you don't know how to fight Havik, his gimmicks are terrifying. Like, he'll just fuck you up. He does big damage, and he's got a lot of, like, crazy stuff that he can do, and with the right assist, like with Cyrax, Striker, I was playing him with Striker. I'm also liking a lot of what he does with Sub-Zero, and that brings me to his big weakness. He gets zoned hard. So if he has anything other than Sub-Zero, he gets zoned hard. And yeah, when he gets inside, his gimmicks are real. Okay, he's kind of like Geras, but he gets zoned. And if you want to fight the zoning, you need Sub-Zero assist, but if you have Sub-Zero assist, he doesn't have a lot of the gimmicks. Yeah, he can do mix-ups into, like, into ice, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's got built-in overheads that you can kind of YOLO into ice. That's really only something he can do with Frost. But with Frost, it's like he doesn't have the shield anymore. He doesn't have ice armor. That's the thing. Havik is one of the few characters that gets zoned in this game. In a game where there's, like, not a lot of zoning, and zoning is actually pretty bad, he actually struggles with it. And his counter zoning without Sub-Zero assist is very unsafe. Like, that grab is going to get him blown up. Thankfully, the characters that zone don't do big damage, but when he's fighting someone like Reiko, who actually can do some pretty significant damage when he gets up close, like if Havik tries to counter zone and he makes a wrong read and does a grab, and Reiko has 2 bars and Darius, like, that's 50% of your health just for trying to get in. You see what I'm saying? Like, Havik's problem is he has to take risks to deal with zoning, or he gets Sub-Zero and he ignores all that, but now he's not as good up front. But he is playable and he is good. It's just he's a little bit more honest, a lot more honest. The final character, right? The final character, we put Kitana here. Kitana is weird. Because first of all, she's a zoner, but she's not very good at zoning. And a game that zoning isn't very good, it doesn't matter. Like, what does it matter that Kitana's not a good zoner in a game where zoning isn't good? But Kitana is actually a really good rushdown character. Her rushdown is pretty fucking solid. She's actually really good, and she's with Goro. But the problem is, if she has Goro, she doesn't have Johnny Cage. And that means that she has to deal, or not Johnny Cage, she doesn't have Kung Lao. If she has Goro, she doesn't have Lo Lao Hat. And now she has to deal with Lo Lao Hat. If she has Lo Lao Hat, she's actually really, really good. The only problem is, like, she's a really good rushdown character with frame traps and mix-ups and all kinds of shenanigans. But she's not as good at rushdown as the rest of these characters because she's not a rushdown character. Her best mid is that 1-2 hit one that's like back 2-4 or forward 2-4. It's like a mid into a kick, and it's like a 2-hit string, and it's like that. That's what she's pressuring you with, and she can pressure you with it, and she can do all kinds of stuff. By having low hat and then having the fan bomb, so like her bomb setups with low hat are really, really good. The problem is she's got gaps you can armor out of, and her defense is kind of unsafe. Like, once you get started on your rush down, she kind of gets rushed down. Johnny can kind of just do what he wants once he gets started. Her rush down is really, really good, and it's better than all the characters below her. This is a rush down game. This is a game where rush down, like, rules, and her rush down is good. It's better than all of these characters, but her rushdown is carried by Low Hat, and all of these characters get way more out of Low Hat, except maybe Havik. I don't think Havik gets as much out of Low Hat. But again, like, you know, Havik has other stuff. You know, Havik's rushdown with Havik Striker doesn't have to deal with like Kitana's rushdown, because Havik can sneak in shit into Striker, and now you don't get to press at all. So it's like all these characters I put above Kitana, and again, this is my opinion. All these characters above Kitana, it's not that they're better, it's just they do the same thing she does. And then the one thing that she does that they can't is zone. And like, her zoning isn't better than the good zoners. and the characters that aren't good zoners, they don't really have to deal with it, except for like these guys. These guys got to deal with all kinds of stuff. And then finally, yeah, so we covered Sindel. Without the reset, I don't think she's that good. With the reset, like, she's like stupid cheap. That reset is probably going to get banned or nerfed. I imagine it's not going to make it out of the next couple of patching cycles. I do think that they'll probably nerf Jax, because Jax does create stupid situations for other characters. Problem is, if they nerf Jax, it nerfs one of Scorpion's only good builds. And that's the problem, is Scorpion is carried so much by assists that whenever assists get nerfed, like, Scorpion just becomes bad again. Like, someone will find a really good thing you can do with Scorpion that makes him competitive. Doesn't even make him good, it makes him competitive. But it unfortunately requires the best assist in the game, and so it gets nerfed, and that's it. But yeah, that's my tier list. I honestly think this game is really, really balanced. These characters that are bottom tier can compete with most of these characters. Like Shao Kahn, yeah, if Johnny gets started, Shao Kahn just has to hold a lot of dumb stuff. But the thing is, if Shao Kahn gets a touch, his defense is solid enough to where he can, like, turtle up and ride out the storm with Johnny. It's not an impossible fight. It's just freaking hard. Same thing with Reptile. Like, Reptile's mobility and shenanigans, like, he can kind of play hit and run and stay away from Johnny and, like, annoy Johnny. It's just if Johnny gets started, he's screwed. Same thing with Scorpion, right? All these characters, their problem is Johnny. And Johnny's with Lao. And that's the other thing, is I wish that there was a cameo team tier list, because I feel like certain teams are top tier, but, like, the character isn't. You know what I mean? Like, Johnny Cage without Low Hat, I don't think is all that great. I gotta be honest, I don't think he's whatever. Low Hat allows him to get in for free. If he doesn't have something to get in for free, he has to play neutral with his tools that are able to fight, zoning, but they also have counterplay. It's Low Hat, Shadow Kick, Release, Low Hat that has no counterplay. It's 2 hits, so you try to armor, he blows you up. It's safe. No, it's plus. So now Johnny Cage, the best close range character, is in your face, plus on block, and if you try to do anything, he knocked you down and he gets Oki. So, like, yeah, if they nerfed Low Hat, Johnny Cage isn't that bad. And that's the thing, is Low Hat is really the problem here. They kind of, in my opinion, I would say make Low Hat, if they made Low Hat -3, that's fine. You can still use it in pressure, because they got to guess when you're going to drop Low Hat, and if you're -3 and they react slowly, you get a poke. You get plus frames. You can jail them. Back into Low Hat if you want. You know, so I think it being -3, that if you block the Low Hat, you can press now. And that stops the rushdown characters from being obnoxious, but it still allows, like, the zoners that get a lot of usage out of Low Hat to get usage out of it. Like, if the Low Hat is like -3, Omni-Man could throw out Low Hat and still do what he does, but he's not plus. And really the problem is Johnny Cage being plus on Low Hat. So, like, if you take away, because Omni-Man's close range isn't as good as Johnny. So if Low Hat isn't plus, you could use Low Hat to make yourself safe, but now it's their turn. And so that's how I think if they made Low Hat -3, that would change the game. Because now other characters can use other assists, and the meta would change very dramatically. Right now, with Kung Lao's Low Hat being what it is, and I don't think Tremor's going to change that. I don't think Crystalline Armor is going to be a factor that really negates Low Hat. It's going to be good, but I don't think it's going to be as good as Low Hat. Without Low Hat getting nerfed. With Low Hat, all of these characters are good. You take away Low Hat, and you basically nerf most of these characters, but it allows them to, it opens them up to other cameos, in which case things could be a lot more interesting. But that's my tier list. I'm gonna cut it there. Right, like, comment, subscribe, or get mad at me in the comment section, and because I don't care. It's my opinion. If you have an opinion, go make your own YouTube video.
Hi, I'm SoCal Honey Badger, and that was my intro.